Alright, everybody, welcome back. So, yes, I'm back from being sick. I'm almost fully recovered, and so I figured what better way than to cover some actually great news from Gaijin, and I'm honestly really surprised this happened. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, Gaijin released a forum post recently, I'll have a link down below, where they talked about actually going ahead and decompressing for the first time in ages, along with some new weapons presets as well. So I'm going to cover the good news first, and we're going to cover a little bit of the bad stuff later on, because it's not all sunshine and roses, but overall this is a very, very positive change, and I want to make sure y'all remember that. So the biggest and most important thing, if you ask me, is the fact that we are now getting up to battle rating 13.7. And along with that, Gaijin is going to be decompressing not just top tier, but all the way down to 10.0. All the top vehicles are moving up 2 BR steps, so from 13.0 to 13.7, and everything below that essentially is going up by at least 0.3. Some of these changes were already expected, like all aspect slingers like the SE25 and the A10s, of course. But you also have stuff like the F105 going from 10.0 to 10.3, the F8E going up to 10.7 along with the MiG-21 SMT as well. One notable one is that the F5C is actually going up 2 BR steps to 11.0, and the F5E is going all the way up to 11.3, and these are both very good decisions if you ask me. The F5s have been very strong with their respective BRs, and this will really help those lower battle rating stuff. While a lot of the 11.3s are going to 11.7, such as the Tornado F3 or the MiG-23 ML and MLD, the F4S and some of the other, Sparrow Phantoms are going to be going up to 12.0, and this is pretty good, I'd say, because they got much, much stronger than they were before with the reduction of the multipath height to 16 meters, and especially with all the MiG-23 nerfs they got. They're also getting a little bit more room to breathe now because, the F-16 ADF and MLU are actually going all the way up to 13.0. So they can still face them, but only 4 of them now, unlike before where if they got a 12.3 gain, they could face full teams of F-16s and have a bunch of 11.3s on their team. The other really positive thing with this change is that now all the top tier planes are going to be getting some new presets, when you're stock. So say, for example, you get something that does not have any radar missiles, you're going to get a pair of more capable IR missiles to go along with the existing ones as well. Say, for example, you get the F-16A stock. Instead of just having 2 AIM-9J stock, you will now have 2 AIM-9Ls and 2 AIM-9Js. So 4 missile stock, which is really going to help. If you do have radar missiles, you're now going to get some of them stock as well. So, for example, the F4EJ Kai, instead of just having 2 AIM-9Ps, it'll now have 2 AIM-9P and 2 AIM-7F. The top tier stuff gets their Fox 3s, at least 2 of them stock. And if that vehicle only had 2 Fox 3s, it still gets them, but now that mod is removed, and it just flat out gets them. So the only missile mod you're going to have to research is, for to have more IR missiles. The J8F is a great example of this. There is actually one small downside to getting rid of the missile mod entirely, and that is just the fact that if you didn't know, modification costs, like for researching and buying it with SL, are the same for the entire tier. They're just divided up by how many mods you have. So it's going to be more difficult to research the mods in that tier now than it was previously, but overall, having those Fox 3 stock is still a massive benefit for the stock grind, so it's definitely more of a benefit than a downside. More stock missiles is always a good thing, and especially in this case with how meta radar missiles are now, having these active radar hunting missiles or even just SAR stock is going to be a massive boon for people trying to stock grind, because previously with the multipath reduction, if you were trying to stock grind, say for example the F-15C, you got 2 AIM-9M stock, and that was it, and you were fighting people that were already fully kitted out with AMRAAMs, and you basically could not get into range in time to actually get kills. By the time everyone else was out of radar missiles and it was actually safe to go on in and try and shoot them, well, you're just kind of out of luck at that point. Now, the stock grind still isn't perfect because you still don't get chaff stock, which is a massive, massive necessity now, with not being able to multipath. But hey, this is still a big improvement, and I'm not going to be complaining. For my sim enjoyers that are watching this, they also added some new sim BR brackets, and they also edited the existing ones slightly. So the 10.0 to 10.7 bracket is now 10.0 to 11.0, and the 9.7 to 10.3 is now 9.7 to 10.7. They went ahead and added some new BR brackets as well, like 11.7 to 12.7, and also above that we now have 12.3 to 13.0, 12.0 to 12.7, and of course 13.0 and up at the very top. This means that some of the planes that are currently right below top tier, like 12.0 for example, and have currently been fighting top tiers literally every game, will now have a BR bracket of their own, and we essentially have an active radar homing BR bracket at the very top. So if you don't want to fight them, you can always play slightly below it, and this is overall a very good quality of life change. More brackets in rotation is always great. Now that's when we start getting to the not quite as good stuff. To be quite frank, this battle rating sheet seems incredibly rushed. It seems like they were just trying to shove it out because they realized just how badly they screwed up this patch. And to be quite frank, some of the BRs make very, very little sense. Say, for example, the F-16AJ, which is better than the F-16ADF, and yet is below it for some reason. It's sitting at 12.7, which, by the way, is the same BR as the F-4EJ Kai, which is literally just a hard-wing Phantom with an F-16 radar and sure, 2 more missiles, but is really nowhere near as effective as, something like the F-16AJ. The early F-15s are now sitting at the same battle rating as the F-16A MLU and ADF, despite having 2 more radar missiles than them and having AIM-9Ms over the AIM-9Ls that the earlier F-16s have. You have the F-4C going to 10.7, the same battle rating as the new MiG-21 SMT and F-8E BRs, despite the fact that it is a, number 1, hard-wing Phantom with no internal gun, number 2, flareless, and number 3, the missile kit is much worse than either of those. Sure, it gets twice as many, but when you're talking about 4 AIM-9Es and 4 AIM-7Ds, which are the really, really bad Sparrows, not quite as bad as the AIM-7C, but still not good, versus 4 R-60s and flares, I know what I would take. Overall, it just seems like they took, an existing battle rating and took all the vehicles at that BR and just moved them up by 0.3 or 0.7, which is fine, but I really wish they would have taken a little bit more time and actually put some thought and effort into these BR changes instead of just shoving them out like they are right now. Overall, of course, they are a net positive, I would say, and I'm not unhappy at all about them coming. They could just still use some work. Unfortunately, I'm afraid that Gaijin will do their usual and just shove them into the game next week without any alterations to what they are right now. This also does bring up one other thing, is that Gaijin is going to have to start decompressing stuff below it as well. The vehicles in like the 9.0 to 9.7 range are going to get a massive indirect buff, and stuff like the MiG-19 is going to become very, very worthwhile again, I believe. And don't even get me started on the F-104. That thing was already clapping, and now all the all-aspect slingers that brought it down in the first place are all going up in BR. Hopefully those all get addressed in the next normal battle rating change, which is already announced. So, hope y'all enjoyed the video. Let me know what y'all are thinking down in the comments down below. And like I said, I'll have it linked so you can go ahead and check it out for yourself. But I hope y'all have a great day. Feel free to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll catch y'all next time. So, peace, y'all.